It is a very frustrating day if you are a South Carolina fan. It is a day where you looked at this entire day, this entire week leading up to today, and this was D-Day for the NCAA. Really, it was D-Day back in January when they let him go into the transfer portal. And you come back today and you say the following: we're not making a decision today. We never were. Are you kidding me? This is a joke. This is one of the biggest jokes I have ever heard. And it just goes to show you the incredible, just downright hypocrisy, downright disrespect, and blatant just bottom line, it's just the most blatant sign of we don't care that I have ever seen from the NCAA. Is this nothing new? No. Not at all. But regardless, guys, we are live here. This is South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you guys for joining us on what should be a fairly interesting day today. It's a day where we really, really have a lot that we need to talk about. Me and you. Me and you need to have a conversation because in a few short minutes, I'm about to tell you why I'm so frustrated. Because we've had this chat for during our first live show, and we talked about how incredibly ridiculous this is. About how incredibly ludicrous the NCAA has become. About how unbelievable the decision-making in the front office of the NCAA has become. Regardless of that, guys, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you do us a favor. Hit the like and share if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on X, make sure you hit that repost button, comment down below. What do you think of the situation that's going on with you-know-who and the NCAA? We heard from the lawyer back in May about the situation, and we heard from him earlier today about the situation. We'll go over that. We'll have some recruiting updates for you. We'll go around the SEC as usual. Guys, this has just been an incredible last 48 hours that most of South Carolina has been on the edge of their seat waiting for a decision like this to come down. It finally does, and look what happens. The poop just hit the fan, and the NCAA has screwed up yet again. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on the socials at Lucas_Hill23. Follow the Voice of College Football as well, THEBOCFB. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification so that you're notified every time we go live or post a new video here on South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get into, obviously, the big news that just got released earlier today regarding Roswell Faison's NCAA eligibility waiver. Ignore the fact that I probably misspelled that. Anyways, so we remember when the NCAA came out, what was it, a couple weeks ago, and said, hey, He's not a lot. He can't play because he doesn't have a waiver. Well, he went out and got that waiver, and the NCAA came back and said that they were going to release a decision earlier during the month of, I think it was April or May, sometime after spring practice, because he wasn't allowed to compete. Because he wasn't allowed. Well, then why the hell was he allowed to participate in spring practice? Why was he allowed to go through the transfer portal? Why was he allowed to not enter the draft? Why was he not given that option? Because he wanted to transfer and go somewhere else. Guys, how does this make any sense? You have to be kidding me that this is an unbelievable thing that we just heard. So, update via our good friend J.C. Sherbert over at the Big Spur, pretty well known. So the report that he would have a decision from the NCAA is false per context. No decision coming today. No further update. Way to get our hopes up. You know, I don't understand why the NCAA is waiting this long to grant a kid this form of eligibility. Because he should have already gotten it. How are you going to allow for a guy like Diego Pavia, who played 2 years of JUCO ball, essentially has been in college for 3 years. Now he gets a 6 year of eligibility. Faison's clock didn't start until 21 when he first played because he had a double red shirt. He sat out in 2019. He came in 2020. That's a double red shirt. 22, I think, was really his red shirt sophomore year. Red shirt junior in 23, red shirt senior in 24. You should have gotten that waiver. Oscar Attaway got it, and he's been in college football much longer than you have. Guys, we talked about this during the very first live show that we ever did here on South Carolina Live. It's the fact that there's so much garbage going on in the NCAA right now that it's almost laughable. That it's almost idiotic, to say the least. That it is utterly ridiculous seeing the type of kid that he is. The guy's been through a lot. Transferred from Utah State, got to be able to do that, goes to South Carolina, goes through spring, plays in the spring game, and now all of a sudden he's not eligible. Please tell me how this makes any freaking sense. Unfortunately, guys, the NCAA is going to end up dragging this out into the season. This is no way, shape, or form are they going to have a decision in the coming weeks. They're not. And you can say, well, you can have hope. To be honest with you guys, it's not happening. If they do end up managing to clear him, it would be middle of the season, maybe even close to the end of the season. And by that time, the NCAA would have screwed his eyes out when it came to the NFL draft, where he could have entered this year. He could have made it onto an NFL roster. He probably can make one now, but depending on what the deal is going on right now, problem is I don't think that it's going to happen. So all likelihood, don't be surprised if he drops down. if the NCAA will let them, dropping down to maybe an FCS, maybe a Division II team, which I think is incredibly disrespectful, incredibly stupid, and incredibly dumb. Congratulations, NCAA. You have officially proven how crappy you are. Why do you think that I've gone on record and said that the NCAA is going to be abolished by the end of the decade? You can ask Jake Crane. Me and him have talked about it. I've talked with many other media outlets about this. The NCAA is getting punched in the mouth repeatedly, but yet it refuses to do anything about that. It refuses to do anything about his situation. How frustrating do you have to be as a South Carolina fan to wait to see for a kid to be eligible? And not even just that. Not just as a fan. Think about the team morale. Every time they break it down on Free Sewell. And I just tweeted out #Free Sewell. I mean, come on, guys. How does this make any freaking sense? Rasul Faison had no idea this was that they didn't want to do this. That they weren't going to come up with a decision today. That's why he put out that tweet earlier, I think yesterday, that said, I need everyone to say a prayer for me that the NCAA does right by me and blesses me with the opportunity to play this season with my brothers. He had no idea that he was going to get screwed over. It's either that or he knew that they weren't coming to a decision and they knew it was going to be at a later date that they were going to announce their decision of what they were going to do. That is just incredible to me. The fact that you basically screwed a kid over. I have no respect for the NCAA. I haven't had any respect for them for the last 2 years. They've allowed for this to happen, so it's nobody else's fault but their own. Nobody else's fault but their own. So it's really ironic to see the NCAA go from a lawsuit where you allow for a guy like Diego Pavia, who the only reason he's coming back to Vanderbilt is to go get more NIL money. But for a kid like Rasul Faison, who's, believe it or not, here for more than just money purposes, here to actually play the game, not a very well-known guy. That's why you don't see him on Bussin' with the Boys or RG3's podcast or any other major media outlet like that. But yet his eligibility gets denied. Guys, this kid ain't like Nico Iamaleava. This kid ain't like Diego Pavia. And I don't mean that as a shot to them. But the only reason that Nico transferred was for money. Plus, I'm hearing that he did want to get out. Did want to eventually get out of... He wanted to... Dude, bottom line, he just wanted to get out of Knoxville. He never wanted to be there. And he doesn't even want to be there. And the same goes for Diego Pavia, who I'm sure he does like Vanderbilt. He likes Tim Beck. He's there for the money as well. Nashville's not a huge priority at quarterback, but hey, I mean, where money calls, that's where one will go at the end of the day, guys. But hey, what on earth do I know at the end of the day? Because this is just downright ridiculous. Just downright ridiculous on what the NCAA is going to do. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks, man. We will see what happens because there is a lot that is really, really intriguing for Rasul Faison's situation over the next couple of weeks. It is one that I think a lot of people need to pay attention to. It's one that I think that if you don't get situated in the next couple of weeks, there's no chance that Rasul Faison may see the field as a South Carolina Gamecock. And I think that's why you went out and got a guy like Isaiah Auguste from Colorado. Because you knew that the situation was looking grim and you had to go out and go get another back that has quality experience as a starting back, other than guys like Oscar Attaway. You just need to get depth in the backfield, man. That's really all you're looking for at the end of the day. Okay. So let's talk about some big commit. Let's talk about some recruiting wise. Because there is a lot of news that we have to discuss over the next couple of weeks. And some big decisions that are going to be made for South Carolina Gamecocks, guys. So last week, we had PJ Dean and Noah Clark commit. We were live during both of those. South Carolina was 1 for 2. PJ Dean became a Georgia Bulldog. Noah Clark became a Gamecock, which is great news if you're a South Carolina Gamecock fan. I thought Noah Clark committing was an absolutely massive ordeal. Absolutely important piece to your recruiting roster that you needed to fill in. That's just my opinion, guys. So the fact of the matter is that you were able to keep him in Columbia, South Carolina is a massive deal for South Carolina's recruiting class. Rivals has them in the top 20. They're the only school that's ranked in the top 25 in recruiting class that has 10 or fewer commitments. People were talking. Now, they're in a much better situation than where Auburn is because Auburn, I don't know what Hugh Freeze's handicap is, but oh my God. Auburn's going down the freaking toilet. Going from back-to-back years in 21 and 22, or no, 24 and 25, having a top 10 recruiting class, and now all of a sudden they're 86? How do you do that? How is that possible? But South Carolina is going to end 2026's recruiting cycle with a top 20 class. You don't have to worry about that, guys. I promise you. 247 Sports has their own ratings. On3, I go by the On3 Rivals rankings because I find that to be a lot more accurate and a lot more informative whenever I'm evaluating a kid and when I look at where the kid's going to commit at the end of the day. I have really, really paid a lot of attention to where this South Carolina recruiting class is going to look like. And to say I'm impressed is an understatement. Guys, the fact of the matter is you've been able to go out and get dudes. You've been able to go out and get studs at all positions. The most important one, though, in my opinion, is about to commit in a couple weeks with a guy like Landon Duckworth. But right now, tonight at 5 o'clock, Joel Combe, the 3-star safety, I think he's a top 600 guy in the class of 26 from Kell High School out in Marietta, Georgia, is set to commit between Tennessee, Wisconsin, South Carolina, and Missouri. I do expect him to either be a Volunteer or a Gamecock. It's going to come down to one of the two. We've been hearing that it's been between the two since, I think, April or so. But I think it's going to be a pretty interesting matchup between the two schools to try and see who's going to get a top 50 safety in the nation. Number 635 overall player. He's a pretty high 3-star according to 247. 0.8793 composite score, which honestly isn't bad for a 3-star safety, guys. Really isn't. I think On3 also has him as a 3-star. Yeah, they have him at around the same score as well. Believe it or not, On3 has him lower down the rankings than what 247 does. 247 has him as a number 49 safety. On3 has him as the number 54 safety in the nation. But all likelihood, he's been to Tennessee a couple times. I think he's been there twice. I don't know if he's visited South Carolina more than the one time on his official visit. You guys can confirm for me. If you guys are in the chat, if you can confirm that for me, do me a favor. Type that in the chat for me and see if he has visited South Carolina more than just the one time when he went on his official visit, because I'm not really that sure. Another one that's pretty important this Friday. By the way, guys, huge announcement. If you haven't heard, if you're a viewer of Ohio State and if you're a viewer of Tennessee at the Voice of College Football, we will be live for a pretty big commitment this upcoming Friday night. Big commitment set for all three. For JB Shabazz, one of the top tackles in the class of 2026 from East Forsyth High School out in Kernsville, North Carolina. The 4-star, number 29 offensive tackle in the nation, a top 300 player in the country. Down to Ohio State, down to Tennessee, down to South Carolina. 6'7", 295 pounds. That dude is a mountain. I mean, a mountain. And look, when I look at the kid's film, the kid is a freaking beast. Some people have him going to, it's from what I'm hearing though, they have him down to South Carolina and Tennessee. That's where we're going to see the majority of the decision at the end of the day being made. Some people have him as 280, but 247 has him at 295. He's probably around 305 to me from what I look at him. When I evaluated him on film, good-sized offensive tackle, moves well, lateral quickness is incredible. Good technique as well. But we will be live this Friday. We'll simulcast on South Carolina, Ohio State, and Tennessee live here at the Voice of College Football. Excited to get together with the boys, Garrison Gaddy, and our good buddies over at Tennessee. We're really excited to pair alongside with them. This will be the first simulcast that I've done with the Voice of College Football, so I'm really excited to get it rocking and rolling with the guys, and it's going to be a good old time. Make sure you guys tune in. Okay, so back to Joel Combe. Combe, a guy that I think can play a multitude of positions, 6'2", 190 pounds safety. I think he probably needs to put on another 10, 15 pounds if he wants to be more of that star slash really lockdown safety that Tim Banks looks for in a defense. I think overall he'd be a solid addition. I don't think he'd be more of a red shirt for the first year or so. He'll be a special teamer at least. I think he'll get playing time when he gets to his redshirt sophomore, maybe his redshirt junior year. If he is to stay a Tennessee Volunteer, I don't know if he will, but we'll just have to see, guys. But that's one name that you need to look out for tonight. Kambaye, I do expect to be a volunteer. I expect for JB Shabazz to be a Gamecock. I think the most important position that you need to pay attention to is offensive line for South Carolina. It's that and the edge. Guys, you have to attack the edge. You have no choice. Guys, you have to be able to recruit the edge, and you have to be able to recruit the interior of your offensive line. Guys, those are two of the most important positions, in my opinion, that you have to go after at the end of the day. Just in my opinion, guys. But again, we'll see what they're going to have at the end of the day. I do think that there is a lot that is still to be looked at from a 26 standpoint, because you still got a lot of guys that are still uncommitted at the edge. Guys that can still flip from here till we get to the month of October and November. Those are the two most important months, in my opinion, when it comes to recruiting at a high level. Okay, give me 1 minute. I will be right back. You are listening in to South Carolina Live here on the Voice of College Football Network. Want to thank our good friends, as always, over at Amazon. Do us a favor. Click the link in the description below. Use that Amazon link. It will automatically log you into your account, so there's no need for you to go in and deal with the hassle of typing in your phone number, doing whatever. Just hit the link, and it'll log you into your account. If you want some more information, Mark, take it away.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, so I just dropped in the call-in link. See if you guys want to hop on into the stream and talk Rasul Faison's situation, talk a little bit more around what's going on, South Carolina football, whatever you want to talk about. Click the link. Make sure that you log in with whatever. Talk in. Hey, man, let's chat. I don't mind. Let's share the stage, man. Give me your thoughts. Doesn't have to be South Carolina. It could be anywhere around the SEC. Doesn't have to, man. Let's continue on with our recruiting trail. Some more interesting news when it comes to around college football, and when it comes to South Carolina, and well, really all South Carolina. But I did want to kind of talk about this. Tamarion Watkins dropped his final 6 earlier today. Well, earlier last week, I should say. So let's go ahead and talk about this, because Watkins is down to South Carolina, Miami, Texas A&M, Georgia. Where is he going to go at the end of the day? Well, let's talk about his film first of all. So many rivals' predictions has him going to South Carolina to go along with guys like Landon Duckworth. Now, if we go back to last month, we talked about some potential recruits that could flip. They listed Tamarion Watkins, C.Kel Patterson, Landon Duckworth, Aiden Harris, and Andrew Harris. Well, the Harris twins have already committed to South Carolina. Tamarion Watkins could be the next one. C.Kel Patterson committed to South Carolina at OT7s last month. Landon Duckworth, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Could be committing to South Carolina. I don't like the situation of what's going on at Auburn. I think he's going to stay a Gamecock. Guys, let me just say this. Let me say this before we continue on with this conversation. If Landon Duckworth ends up committing to Auburn, do you know how unbelievably big that would be for Auburn? Because with everything that is going on, let's say Landon Duckworth does commit to Auburn. How much golf is Hugh Freeze going to play in the next couple of weeks? I'm being serious when I say this. Guys, if Hugh Freeze manages to pull out a top 10 quarterback, a guy that you can rely on at the end of the day, when it comes to your recruiting, how big would that impact your program? That's my question. And to me, I think it would be a game changer, but I don't know if that is going to be the case because you already have a number 2 and 3 option with Deuce Knight in your backfield. I don't know how much that will impact at the end of the day with what South Carolina is going to bring. I think still a likelihood he is going to be a Gamecock. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be a Gamecock. To me, guys, there's just so much that would have to happen for Auburn to pull out probably, in my opinion, one of the biggest upsets so far in college football. Especially with recruiting-wise, you would have to do a lot when it came to trying to pull out a guy like Landon Duckworth to stay in the state of Alabama. I think he's going to be a Gamecock. I think he's going to stay committed. I thought he decommitted because he still wanted to explore his options. I think South Carolina was able to counter that offer of what Auburn is going to bring, and I think they're going to bring in a guy like Landon Duckworth into your backfield. Let's talk about Tamarion Watkins. Back to him. Watkins, to me, is going to be down to 3 guys. I think he's going to stay in the state of Florida, though. He's from Northwestern High School. He's an electric talent. Literally, in my opinion, with a guy like Tamarion Watkins, there is a very interesting chance that Watkins could be a game changer with going to Miami. The money is lucrative there. You have an opportunity to potentially play within the first 2 years. I think that's what he does. He's got enough talent to do that. He's a top 10 safety according to On3. But again, man, we'll see what happens. It would be cool to see him as a Gamecock. I think he would fill in a gap like Nicky Ewanmawori with what he would bring to the table. He plays a lot like Ewanmawori, hard hitter, ball hawk at the end of the day. But I think he's going to make a big impact at the end of the day, no matter what program it is. All right, let's get to this comment. What kid in his right mind would attend Auburn? From Halo Master 96. The school is a complete dump and the program is dead. That I agree with you with. I think they have been on the wrong side looking in for since the decade began. I thought you fired Gus Malzahn for a horrible, horrible decision. I know you were trying to move on from him for the last 3 years, even before that. I think you wanted to get rid of him following 2016, in my opinion. You probably could have gotten rid of him. If you lose to LSU, Gus Malzahn is gone. But he manages to stick around for another couple years until after 20. When did he get fired? 2020 or was it 2019 that he got fired? I'm looking right now. I think it was 2019 that he got fired, which I thought was kind of crappy. No, he got fired in 2020. He lasted till the bowl game. But, I mean, even in that, I understand why he got fired after 2020 because of just how bad you were and how inconsistent that program was. The kid would attend Auburn because of the money, dude. That's the only reason why they would attend Auburn. Unfortunately, that's where it is right now in college football. Why do you think Cam Coleman went to Auburn instead of Bama? That's the only thing I'm gonna just say about that. I do agree with you that the program is declining. It hasn't really been relevant over the last 5 years. It hasn't been relevant since the mid 2010s. But I do think that if you are able to pull off this upset and keep Landon Duckworth in the state of Alabama, it would definitely lighten the load on what Hugh Freeze is undergoing right now, because there is a lot of pressure on him, believe it or not, to try and win immediately. You have no choice. Guys, if Hugh Freeze is to go another season where they go 7-5, he is done. They're going to fire him. I very, very, very much believe that that's going to be the case. Very much believe so. But anyways, let's continue on the recruiting trail. We got to talk about some other big commitments that are going to come in the next couple of weeks, other than the two that we just mentioned. Smoke Matthews is also going to commit the same day that JB Shabazz is going to commit. We've talked about Samari Matthews, who's one of the top corners in the nation. We talked about how elite he is on the outside. He is an island out there, an absolute dog on the outside. He's going to do a lot with his ability to get out of his break, be able to be effective with his footwork. The kid is an incredible defensive player. I think he's really one of the best route runners, or not the best route runners, one of the best cover corners out there in college football. And this is what they said about them over at OT7s back during day 2. I think this was all the way back in this is all the way back in June. This is what they had to say about it.
Lastly, we'll wrap it up in the secondary. Who caught your eye in the secondary, Brandon?
I thought Samari Matthews had a great day. You know, he's just such a good guy in coverage. He's physical. He does a great job of really neutralizing his receiver. Doesn't get a lot of targets his way because he's basically taking the receiver out of the play.
See, this is what we've talked about, is how elite of a player that he is because of his ability to take a receiver outside the boundary, basically make him ineffective as a receiver. That's what I want to see from a cover corner, is him being able to do that. I think Matthews is down to, what did we say that he was down to when it came to his final 4? Or really his final 2. Because I think Texas was 1, South Carolina obviously, and Florida State. I don't know if he does end up staying with South Carolina, to be honest with you guys. I'll just be honest with you. I think he's going to make the move on out to Texas. I think he's going to be a Longhorn. I know you guys may not want to hear that, but it's what you need to hear. The money talks, how you develop talks, and what you're going to do at the end of the day is going to make a lot more noise than really what you want for your home team. That's what you're going to have to hear, guys. And it sucks, but I do think that Smoke Matthews is going to be a Texas Longhorn. It would be awesome if he is to become a Gamecock, but I just don't see it really happening. Top 10 cornerback in the state, in the nation, number 6 overall player in the state of North Carolina. But right now, guys, this is not looking too hot for Smoke Matthews. But again, you got bold when you got big time guys like that, man. We'll see. But speaking of Samari Matthews, literally about 5 minutes ago, Chad Simmons discussed about the latest intel with Samari Matthews, who's the team that is emerging for him. And that was obviously Texas. What do we talk about? The money talks at the end of the day. Been talking with Gamecocks Inside. Many of you follow Gamecocks Inside, and I have a lot of respect for him. I want to get him on my show, too. He's been very helpful, bro. Like, you want to understand the viewership that we've gotten, it's been because of him. So we appreciate him, my man. Anyways, Matthews to me is going to be in the state of Texas by Friday. Do I think he flips? I don't think so. He's not going to be a flip-flopper like I think what a guy like JB Shabazz or maybe a Tamarion Watkins could be. To me, I think he's going to be a burnt orange guy. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's going to end up having that sort of impact when it came to recruiting and the type of loyalty he's about to showcase. Okay. SEC Media Days are coming up next week. So we're going to do a bit of a longer version of Around the SEC, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go around your SEC as usual. So I dropped earlier today my questions for Media Days. And I think there's many more that I think can be asked. If you guys have any questions when it comes to Media Days, drop them in the comments, man. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear what your questions are. I want to try and answer your questions for me. And it doesn't have to be just South Carolina football. Guys, we talk SEC here. But anyways, let's talk about the questions that we have for Media Days. Ole Miss, what has Austin Simmons' development been like during the offseason? Obviously having to take over for a guy like Jackson Dart, who is now with the New York Giants. We saw him a little bit last year. Saw him during the one drive against Georgia. Looked good. Has that leadership capability that I think he can develop. He'll be at SEC Media Days. And I think he can make a significant impact for Ole Miss football this year. I do think he's still going to have his growing. He's still going to have those growing pains. But I still think that there is a lot to look forward to when you talk about, a guy that is continuing to develop at the next level, going to continue to be an elite talent like what Lane Kiffin does at the end of the day. Let's talk about LSU. Who stood out most in the offensive line room? This was an offensive line that you got a lot to replace, man. LSU has to replace not one, but two offensive linemen that you thought made a huge impact for your team last year. Two guys that were all conference guys. One man ended up being an All-American and one of your best players that you've ever had come through LSU in Will Campbell. So how do you replace them? Well, how have they performed throughout spring practice? I know there's been a lot of hype between what you've gotten through the transfer portal. Josh Thompson has been an elite guard from what I am hearing through many sources that I've talked to throughout spring practice. He's been a dog. My biggest thing is the tackles, man. What are you going to look like in week 1 when Clemson comes to town? What are you going to look like then? That's my biggest concern. For Vanderbilt, has there been a more open playbook with Tim Beck and Diego Pavia this offseason? Now, this is what I mean when I say that. When I look at the playbook from last year with Tim Beck's offense, look, they've been together for what, 3 years now? They've been together for 3 years, and you've continued to see growth. You've continued to see them develop at a high rate, a high rate than we have ever seen when it comes to Vanderbilt. Guys, Tim Beck and Diego Pavia are the best 1-2 combo right now in the SEC over the last, because they've been together since their New Mexico State days. Him and Jerry Kill are all in Nashville. All of which are going to make a significant impact at the end of the day when it comes to where when it comes to where Vanderbilt is going to be in the next year or so, if Tim Beck is to remain a Commodore. Are you going to open up the passing game a little bit? Is there going to be more of a run game? Is there going to be more trickery with the option game? With running guys like Cedric Alexander, with Eli Stowers, with Junior Sherrill? I want to know. Guys, how open is the playbook this year? I know your first year in the SEC. Have you expanded that more? Back to whenever you were at New Mexico State? Or has it remained the same? If it's either or, I would like to know. South Carolina, we already know what we're going to talk about. How has the Roswell Faison decision affected the team? How has that happened? How has that been a major key in the development of this program? How has that affected your overall team morale? For Georgia, who's the X factor in this offseason? Guys, we know what Georgia's capable of. My question is, what are they going to do to develop at a high rate? What are they going to do to prove to the SEC that they're still a dog on top? I have Steve Sarkisian at 1. I have Kirby Smart at 2 on my list. And many people were up in arms about this. Many people commented on my list and said, you're stupid. This is a prove-it year for Georgia. Who's your X factor going into this season? That's what I want to know. And I need you to have an answer for me, too. That's the biggest concern that I have when it comes to Georgia, is the fact that you may not have an answer when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. When it comes to the defensive side of the ball. How do you replace your 2 top offensive linemen that are now gone, that were injured majority of the season last year? Guys, what are you going to do about that? That's my question. Guys, it's your edge rushers. What are you going to do for that? You lost Jalen Walker and Mykel Williams. Sucks, man. Absolutely sucks. But you look at the guys that you've gotten from the portal, especially at the skill position, receiver-wise, you're going to be much better. Excuse me. In my opinion, the biggest X factor that nobody is really talking about right now is Zion Branch. Zion Branch is going to make a huge splash for Georgia this year. He's going to fill in that role that Malachi Starks left behind. And do I think Malachi Starks had a down year in 2024? Yes, he did. But he was still a first-round draft pick because he's that elite of a corner and that elite of a ball hawk safety. For Auburn, for Tennessee, how's Joey Aguilar's development been? How was the difference from him transitioning to Appalachian State to Tennessee has been? How is he developing this Heupel offense? How has his passing accuracy gotten any better throughout the offseason? For Texas, the interior of the defensive line is the biggest concern that I have for Texas. Other than that, I am all in on Texas winning the national championship this year. But what have you done on the interior? Losing guys like Barron Sorrell. Losing a lot of talent. Losing a lot of big-time guys. Especially from Texas's standpoint. Losing a guy like, who was it that came from Texas? That was a defensive lineman. Not from this past year. That was, I think he ended up with the Green Bay Packers or something like that. But anyways, what are you going to do in those places? Who has stepped up in the interior? Auburn. Did Hugh Freeze break 80 yet? But no, on a serious note, I want to know where Auburn is right now as the state. What is the state of Auburn right now? Are you really all in with this program? That's what I want to know. Alabama. Dude, you've been on fire recruiting. You've gotten four five stars over the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks. When was the last time we've seen that, guys? Guys, that is impressive. Just seeing what all Alabama has done throughout this recruiting cycle. They have made recruiting a huge priority. Well, my question is, what's been the message to them? What has brought them to Tuscaloosa? What has gotten them in Tuscaloosa? And for Florida, how has DJ Lagway's game evolved since the end of the season? Since he had that unbelievable 4-game stretch to end the year where he basically carried you to a lot of wins. DJ Lagway was the big difference between Billy Napier being fired and you making a bowl game. When expectations were low at the start of the season, you were able to make things happen at the end of the day. When you were able to keep guys in Tuscaloosa, or not Tuscaloosa, when you were able to keep a lot of your guys in Gainesville, you still have a young roster that you can build around. The receiving room looks incredible. That's what I'm excited most to see. And your running back, Jaden Ball, is, in my opinion, the second best running back in college football. I think Jeremiah Love's number one, even though Jeremiah Love had a great stretch. Guys, Jeremiah Love can be one of the best in college football. My question is, can he be consistent? Can he have games like he had near the end of the year? I don't want them to base it off of one game where he had a 99-yard touchdown against Indiana, where he showed off that breakaway speed. Guys, I want people to look at Jeremiah Love and see the type of power back that he is. But Jaden Ball, in my opinion, is the complete back. For Mississippi State, what are the issues that you've just addressed on the defensive side of the ball? It's been a disaster the last couple of days, the last couple of years on defense. Last year was atrocious. 2 years ago, it was not as bad, but it was a year where you have not found consistency. Last year, you were okay. You were better on offense, but you got worse on the defensive side of the ball. 2023, you were horrible on the offensive side of the ball, not putting up anything on your offense, and you absolutely crapped the bed. Last year, you do better on offense. You have some more success. You find the maturity in guys like Mike Van Buren and Blake Shapen, guys that popped off late in the season. Guys like Kevin Coleman, Amari Daniels, or not Amari Daniels, but Johnny Daniels, excuse me. But who else is going to, Devon Booth, but who else are we going to expect to break out this year? What have you done? What has Coleman Hutzler done to realize, hey, my job is on the line. I need to fix this defense so that I could potentially take a Mississippi State team that's probably projected to go 2-10 or 3-9 and turn them into a 4 or 5 win team that can exceed expectations and at least maybe get a win in the SEC play. I think they can upset at Auburn. Don't count me on it, though. For Missouri, how does Ahmad Hardy fill the role that Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel left behind? Now, I'm not saying that both of those guys were incredible backs, but both did. The problem is that they were both hurt. You couldn't find them both in the backfield because of how they were always banged up last year. And you could never find a guy between the two. You never could find a consistent back. The biggest issue that you have to resolve is being able to find a running back. And it starts with Ahmad Hardy. Ahmad Hardy can lead this offense at the end of the day. And I think he's going to be the big reason why Missouri is going to find success on the offensive side of the ball with a young quarterback like Bo Pribula. For Arkansas, how does Taylon Greenable progress in year 2 of the Petrino offense? We saw some great things. We saw some bad things. Can we find the middle? Kentucky, how has Zach Calzada evolved since you last saw him in the SEC? That was 4 years ago, guys. Can you believe it? Guys, I was in high school when Zach Calzada was the starting quarterback when Texas A&M beat Alabama. When his best game, he played Alabama. Wow. Eventually ends up transferring to Auburn, doesn't play, and then ends up at UIW. So, here's my question to you. When it comes to Calzada, is what are you going to do at the end of the day with a quarterback like Calzada that has not really been the most consistent in the SEC, that hadn't played since 2022 in the SEC, that had been with UIW the last 2 years and a pretty good offense? How is him and Bush Hamden going to pair together? Texas A&M, what the heck have y'all done at linebacker and defensive line to fill the gaps that you left the last 2 years? Guys, you've lost a lot. Last year's defensive line room was incredible, and you lost a lot through the portal. This is going to be a young linebacker and defensive line group. I don't want them getting pushed. You got a lot of guys that are 4 or 5 stars, guys that you can have return. But my question for Mike Elko and company is, how are you going to be? Who are you going to have filling those holes? And can you finally get the stench of Jimbo out of College Station? And for Oklahoma, finally, what's the relationship been like with Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, and how is that translated on the field? Guys, I've said it time and time again. I have thought that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer are the perfect pairing for college football. They're the perfect pairing for Oklahoma's offense. Something that you needed so desperately last year. Something that you needed to make happen last year. One that I thought was incredible that you needed to get situated at the end of the day. So, again, guys, this is a huge year for Oklahoma. How are the offseason additions going to impact your overall offense at the end of the day? And how will a guy like Ben Arbuckle change where the offense is at? We saw what he did at Washington State with a guy like John Mateer. John Mateer, in my opinion, is a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. And at the end of the day, guys, we're going to see at the end of the day with how complete Oklahoma can be with this offense. All right. Guys, I want to give you guys some channel updates real fast before we get up out of here. Guys, you guys have been awesome the last several weeks. Guys, since we started back last month, we have put up we have 17 new subscribers. We have had over 11,000 views over the last 28 days, guys. 11,000. Absolutely incredible, guys. Absolutely awesome that you guys have been interacting with our videos, interacting with what we have posted. We have a lot more are getting ready to get posted. I know I haven't posted a reel in about 5 days. I need to be consistent with that. So, again, thank you guys for the support. We really, really, really appreciate that. Guys, we're excited for the future. The future of what this channel is going to have is going to awesome at the end of the day. I am extremely proud of where we are at. Guys, we have 173 of you tuned in right now. And we've had a lot of people interact with our content. We're excited to get to know majority of the media that's here, the majority of our fan base. Guys, I don't know if Jackson's in the chat right now or if anybody else can give me a count of how many days we have until the Aflac kickoff game. I know Jackson's usually in this chat. I don't know if he is today. Jackson, if you're in the chat, brother, how many days, or if anybody's in the chat, give me a rundown of how many days we have until kickoff for college football. Because I would really like to know. Because I think South Carolina plays Virginia Tech in August, I want to say. But I think it'll be all right. I'm looking right now, ladies and gentlemen. We have 52 days until August 31st. 52 days until kickoff. Guys, we're, I think, 7 Saturdays away, I believe. So we are excited. Continue to stick along with us here on South Carolina, here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate you guys for tuning on in. Again, guys, I'm Lucas Hill. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. 174 of you tuning in today for what has been a remarkable show. Make sure you follow us on the socials. Follow me on X at Lucas_Hill23. Follow the Voice of College Football at THEVOCFB. Make sure you hit that like and share button. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the bell notification every time we post a new video here on South Carolina Live. Thank you, as always, ladies and gentlemen, for making South Carolina Live your very first listen of the day. Make sure you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys later. Guys, you are the best. And I mean that with all my heart. So we'll see you guys on Saturday, I want to say. No, not on Saturday. We'll see you guys on Friday. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay blessed. Don't stress.